Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaudavani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachudeshatarine
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachudeshatarine
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda
Hare Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda
Hare Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda
Shri Krishna
Chaitanya
Prabhu
Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar
I'm feeling it. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to another daily reading. We're in Sri Sri Nitai Mayapur Chandra's temple, for those of you who have not seen. Here we go. Hare Krishna. We have Bhakti Cassidy in the house.
Hare Krishna.
Oop, okay. And we have Nikunja Nagari is here. Hare Krishna, welcome back. Nice to have you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And we have Bhakti Matt. Hare Bol. Yes, and Rasraj may appear. We're here doing the 7-day kirtan, continuing on. I'm doing mostly, I'm like the guy who keeps it going when nobody else is coming, or like one of them. There's a couple of them really, but so we're doing lots of kirtan every day, and somehow or other, it's insane. It's really strong, just having the non-stop vibration going, if anyone's ever experienced that. You know, a 24-hour kirtan kind of gives a flavor, but just, you know, it's intense. It's like, it's a big yagya, you know. It takes a lot of effort and energy, and it's a strong spiritual atmosphere. And, yeah, just being in it's so purifying. Same as I have, you know, not on purpose, but I accidentally developed the habit of leaving my water bottle in the temple to soak up all the transcendental vibration all day long. And anyway, drinking that water, just drinking the water, I'm like, oh man, it's intense. So anyway, yeah, we had the desire to see how much kirtan we can do before we just drop it too. So we came up with, you know, chant or do, you know, jop till you drop. Basically what's going on here. And anyway, we're enlivened and we're here to hear. So, Hare Krishna. Anyway, we left off on Canto 1, Chapter 15. I can't remember what verse we were on. 45?
46? 46.
I think I'm going to just start with 45 anyway.
Cool.
And Kala just joined. Hare Krishna Kala Ji. Hari Bol. So, okay, we're going to dive in just about to chant the invocation here. So if anybody wants to follow along, please feel welcomed. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Sahrit Satam Nashtaprayashvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. Alright, I'm going to start on 45, even though I do think we read it yesterday. Sarve tamanu nirjagmur bhratara krita nishchaya kalana dharma mitrena trisbash prishta prajabhuvi. The younger brothers of Maharaj Yudhisthira observed that the age of Kali had already arrived throughout the world and that the citizens of the kingdom were already affected by irreligious practice. Therefore, they decided to follow in the footsteps of their elder brother. Yeah, we definitely did read it. Purport. The younger brothers of Maharaj Yudhisthira were already obedient followers of the great emperor, and they had sufficiently been trained to know the ultimate goal of life. They therefore decidedly followed their eldest brother in rendering devotional service to Lord Sri Krishna. According to the principles of Sanatana Dharma, one must retire from family life after half the duration of life is finished, and must engage himself in self-realization. But the question of engaging oneself is not always decided. Sometimes retired men are bewildered about how to engage themselves for the last days of life. Here is a decision by authorities like the Pandavas. All of them engaged themselves in favorably culturing the devotional service of the Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to Swami Sridhar, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, or fruitive activities, philosophical speculations, and salvation, as conceived by several persons, are not the ultimate goal of life. They are more or less practiced by persons who have no information of the ultimate goal of life. The ultimate goal of life is already indicated by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita 1864. And the Pandavas were intelligent enough to follow it without hesitation. Te sadhu krita sarvartha yatvaya gatvat yantikam atmanaha manasa dharayam masur vaikunta charanam bhujam. They all had performed all the principles of religion, and as a result, rightly decided that the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna are the supreme goal of life. Therefore they meditated upon his feet without interruption. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:28, the Lord says that only those who have done pious deeds in previous lives and have become freed from the results of all impious acts can concentrate upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. The Pandavas, not only in this life but also in their previous lives, had always performed the supreme pious work, and thus they are ever free from all the reactions of impious work. Excuse me. It is quite reasonable, therefore, that they concentrated their minds upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. According to Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha principles are accepted by persons who are not free from the results of impious action. Such persons, affected with the contaminations of the above four principles, cannot at once accept the lotus feet of the Lord in the spiritual sky. The Vaikuntha world is situated far beyond the material sky. The material sky is under the management of Durga Devi, or the material energy of the Lord. But the Vaikuntha world is managed by the personal energy of the Lord.
Is the personal energy of the Lord Radharani?
The personal energy of the Lord.
Yeah. Like internal potency, the same thing.
I don't know.
Cool.
I don't know what he means by personal energy.
Cool.
Specifically, what energy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't answer it. Tadjano driktaya bhaktya vishuddha dishana pare dasmin narayana pare ekanta matayo gatim avapura dodavapam te asadbir visayatma bihi vidhuta karmashastanam vrajanatmanaivahi. Thus, by pure consciousness, due to constant devotional remembrance, they attain the spiritual sky, which is ruled over by the Supreme Narayan, Lord Krishna. This is attained only by those who meditate upon the Supreme Lord without deviation. This abode of the Lord Sri Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan, cannot be attained by persons who are absorbed in the material conception of life. But the Pandavas, being completely washed of all material contamination, attain that abode in their very same bodies. Purport. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, a person freed from the three modes of material qualities, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, and situated in transcendence, can reach the highest perfection of life without change of body. Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Hari Bhakti Vilas says that a person, whatever he may be, can attain the perfection of a twice-born Brahmana by undergoing the spiritual disciplinary actions under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Exactly as a chemist can turn gunmetal into gold by chemical manipulation. It is therefore the actual guidance that matters in the process of becoming a Brahmana, even without change of body, or in going back to Godhead without change of body. Srila Jiva Goswami remarks that the word he used in this connection positively affirms this truth, and there is no doubt about this factual position. The Bhagavad Gita 14.26 also affirms this statement of Srila Jiva Goswami when the Lord says that anyone who executes devotional service systematically without deviation can attain the perfection of Brahman by surpassing the contamination of the three modes of material nature. And when the Brahman perfection is still more advanced by the self-same execution of devotional service, there is no doubt at all that one can attain the supreme spiritual planet, Goloka Vrindavan, without change of body, as we have already discussed in connection with the Lord's returning to his abode without a change of body. Vidurupi parityajya prabhase dehamatmanaha krishnaveshena taschita pitrabhi swakshayam yayo. Vidura, while on pilgrimage, left his body at Prabhas. Because he was absorbed in thought of Krishna, he was received by the denizens of the Pitraloka planet, where he returned to his original post. Purport. The difference between the Pandavas and Vidura is that the Pandavas are eternal associates of the Lord, the personality of Godhead, whereas Vidura is one of the administrative demigods in charge of the Pitraloka planet and is known as Yamaraj. Men are afraid of Yamaraj because it is he only who awards punishment to the miscreants of the material world. But those who are devotees of the Lord have nothing to fear from him. To the devotees, he is a cordial friend, but to the non-devotees, he is fear personified. As we have already discussed, it is understood that Yamaraj was cursed by Munduka Muni to be degraded as a Shudra, and therefore Vidura was an incarnation of Yamaraj. As an eternal servitor of the Lord, he displayed his devotional activities very ardently and lived the life of a pious man. So much so that a materialistic man like Dhritarashtra also got salvation by his instruction. So, by his pious activities in the devotional service of the Lord, he was able to always remember the lotus feet of the Lord, and thus he became washed of all contamination of a Shudra-born life. At the end, he was again received by the denizens of Pitraloka and posted in his original position. The demigods are also associates of the Lord without personal touch, whereas the direct associates of the Lord are in constant personal touch with him. The Lord and his personal associates incarnate in many universes without cessation. The Lord remembers them all, whereas the associates forget due to there being very minute parts and parcels of the Lord. They are apt to forget such incidents due to being infinitesimal. This is corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita 4.5. Draupadi chaturajnaya patinam anapekshitam vasudeve bhagavati yakantamatirapatam. Draupadi also saw that her husbands, without caring for her, were leaving home. She knew well about Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Both she and Subhadra became absorbed in thoughts of Krishna and attained the same results as their husbands. Purport. When flying an airplane, one cannot take care of other planes. Everyone has to take care of his own plane, and if there is any danger, no other plane can help another in that condition. Similarly, at the end of life, when one has to go back home, back to Godhead, everyone has to take care of himself without help rendered by another. The help is, however, offered on the ground before flying in space. Similarly, the spiritual master, the father, the mother, the relatives, the husband, and others can all render help during one's lifetime. But while crossing the sea, one has to take care of himself and utilize the instructions formerly received. Draupadi had 5 husbands, and no one asked Draupadi to come. Draupadi had to take care of herself without waiting for her great husbands. And because she was already trained, she at once took to concentration upon the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The wives also got the same result as their husbands. In the same manner, that is to say, without changing their bodies, they reached the destination of Godhead. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur suggests that both Draupadi and Subhadra, although her name is not mentioned herein, got the same result. None of them had to quit the body. Yashradayaitat bhagavat priyanam padosutanam iti samprayanam shrinujjalam swasyayanam pavitram labdvahara bhaktim upaiti siddhim. The subject of the departure of the sons of Pandu for the ultimate goal of life, back to Godhead, is fully auspicious and is perfectly pure. Therefore, anyone who hears this narration with devotional faith certainly gains the devotional service of the Lord, the highest perfection of life. Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam is a narration about the personality of Godhead and the devotees of the Lord like the Pandavas. The narration of the personality of Godhead and his devotees is absolute in itself, and thus to hear it with a devotional attitude is to associate with the Lord and constant companions of the Lord. By the process of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one can attain the highest perfection of life, namely going back home, back to Godhead, without failure. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 15th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely.
Jai. Really doing it.
Huh?
Really doing it. By the process of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one can attain the highest perfection of life, namely going back home, back to Godhead.
Back to Ghetto.
Good head.
Godhead.
Good dead horror.
Yeah, just by hearing, especially in a devotional mood. Hare Krishna. Any reflections, questions, comments, realizations, chastisements, requests at this junction? Appreciations, ecstasies. Hare Krishna. Just hearing the nectar here.
It's interesting, talking about Draupadi. Draupadi had 5 husbands, and no one asked Draupadi to come. Draupadi had to take care of herself without waiting for her great husbands. And because she was already trained, she at once took to the concentration upon the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, the personality of Godhead. It's just like the idea of concentrating on the lotus feet of Krishna. Like, when they say that, I wonder how literal it is. I mean, I assume it's very literal, especially since they were in personal association with Krishna. It's like such an interesting concept, like being on your deathbed, even like about to leave your body, and just like fixing your concentration like on Krishna's feet. It's such a funny concept. It's so like palpable though. I always do it in the temple. I'm always like staring at Krishna's feet. But doing it in my mind, I don't do it really so much in my mind. I'm usually just like thinking of like Krishna's energy, Krishna's like almost universal form, and his sound of his name.
Right. Yeah, I'm actually not sure because the feet of the Lord can also be quite a general term of the shelter of the Lord.
Right.
They can they're thinking of Krishna in so many different ways. Generally speaking. Like,
yeah.
Different relationships, different things that happen, different qualities of the Lord. So, yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, typically I read it in the sense of like a general term. But yeah, literally meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. Nice meditation. Okay. Yeah, once you start at the feet and move on up. I remember in the description of Bhagavatam, feet, the ankles, the shanks, so on. Okay, anybody want to share anything else before we continue? How Krishna is working magic in your life? Okay. Chapter 16. How Parikshit received the age of Kali. Sutta Uvacha Ta Parikshit Dvijavarya Shikshaya Mahimmaha Bhagavata Shashasaha Yatahi Sutyam Abhijata Kovida Smadasan Vipramahadgunashtata. Sorry? Somebody speaking? No? Okay. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, O learned Brahmanas, Maharaj Parikshit then began to rule over the world as a great devotee of the Lord under the instructions of the best of the twice-born Brahmanas. He ruled by those great qualities which were foretold by expert astrologers at the time of his birth. Purport. At the time of Maharaj Parikshit's birth, the expert astrologer Brahmanas foretold some of his qualities. Maharaj Parikshit developed all those qualities, being a great devotee of the Lord. The real qualification is to become a devotee of the Lord, and gradually all the good qualities worthy of possession develop. Maharaj Parikshit was a Maha Bhagavat, or a first-class devotee, who is not only well-versed in the science of devotion, but also able to convert others to become devotees by his transcendental instructions. Maharaj Parikshit was therefore a devotee of the first order, and thus he used to consult great sages and learned brahmanas who could advise him by the Shastras how to execute the state administration. Oh, excuse me. Such great kings were more responsible than modern elected executive heads because they obliged the great authorities by following the instructions left in Vedic literatures. There was no need for impractical fools to enact daily a new legislative bill and to conveniently alter it again and again to serve some purpose. The rules and regulations were already set forth by great sages like Manu, Yajnavalkya, Parashar, and other liberated sages, and the enactments were all suitable for all ages and all places. Therefore the rules and regulations were standard and without flaw or defect. Kings like Maharaj Parikshit had their council of advisors, and all the members of that council were either great sages or brahmanas of the first order. They did not accept any salary, nor had they any necessity for such salaries. The state would get the best advice without expenditure. They were themselves samadarshi, equal to everyone, both man and animal. They would not advise the king to give protection to man and instruct him to kill the poor animals. Such council members were not fools or representatives to compose a fool's paradise. They were all self-realized souls, and they knew perfectly well how all living beings in the state would be happy, both in this life and in the next. They were not concerned with the hedonistic philosophy of eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy. They were philosophers in the real sense, and they knew well what is the mission of human life. Under all these obligations, the advisory council of the king would give correct directions, and the king or executive head, being himself a qualified devotee of the Lord, would scrutinizingly follow them for the welfare of the state. The state in the days of Maharaj Yudhisthira, or Maharaj Parikshit, was a welfare state in the real sense of the term, because no one was unhappy in that state, be he man or animal. Maharaj Parikshit was an ideal king for a welfare state of the world. So uttarasya tanayam upayema iravatim janamejayadings chaturas dasham utpadayat sutan. King Parikshit married the daughter of King Uttara and begot 4 sons, headed by Maharaj Janamejai. Purport. Maharaj Uttara was the son of Yarata and maternal uncle of Maharaj Parikshit. Iravati, being the daughter of Maharaj Uttara, was the cousin sister of Maharaj Parikshit. But cousin brothers and sisters were allowed to get married if they did not belong to the same gotra, or family. In the Vedic system of marriage, the importance of the gotra, or family, was stressed. Arjuna also married Subhadra, although she was his maternal cousin sister. Janamejai, one of the Rajrishi kings and the famous son of Maharaj Parikshit. His mother's name was Iravati, or according to some, Madravati. Maharaj Janamejai begot 2 sons of the names Yatanika and Shankukarna. He celebrated several sacrifices in the Kurukshetra pilgrimage site, and he had 3 younger brothers named Shrutasena, Ugrasena, and Bhimasena II. He invaded Takshala, Ajanta, and he decided to avenge the unlawful curse upon his great father, Maharaj Parikshit. He performed a great sacrifice called Sarpa Yagya to kill the race of serpents, including the Takshaka, which had bitten his father to death. On request from many influential demigods and sages, he had to change his decision to kill the race of snakes. But despite stopping the sacrifice, he satisfied everyone concerned in the sacrifice by rewarding them properly. In the ceremony, Mahamuni Vyasadeva was also present, and he personally narrated the history of the battle of Kurukshetra before the king. Later on, by the order of Vyasadeva, his disciple Vaishampayana narrated before the king the subject matter of Mahabharata. He was much affected by his great father's untimely death and was very anxious to see him again. And he expressed his desire before the great sage Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva also fulfilled his desire. His father was present before him, and he worshipped both his father and Vyasadeva with great respect and pomp. Being fully satisfied, he most magnificently gave charity to the brahmanas present at the sacrifice. Ajaharasvamidhang string gagayam bhuri dakshinan saradvattam gurum kripvadivayatrakshi gocharaha. Maharaj Parikshit, after having selected Kripacharya for guidance as his spiritual master, performed 3 horse sacrifices on the banks of the Ganges. These were executed with sufficient rewards for the attendants. And at these sacrifices, even the common man could see the demigods. Purport. Purport. It appears from this verse that interplanetary travel by the denizens of higher planets is easy. In many statements in Bhagavatam, we have observed that the demigods from heaven used to visit this earth to attend sacrifices performed by influential kings and emperors. Herein also we find that during the time of the horse sacrifice ceremony of Maharaj Parikshit, the demigods from other planets were visible even to the common man due to the sacrificial ceremony. The demigods are not generally visible to common men, as the Lord is not visible. But the Lord, by his causeless mercy, descends to be visible to the common man. Similarly, the demigods also become visible to the common man by their own grace. Although celestial beings are not visible to the naked eyes of the inhabitants of this earth, it was due to the influence of Maharaj Parikshit that the demigods also agreed to be visible. There we go. The kings used to spend lavishly during such sacrifices, as a cloud distributes rains. A cloud is nothing but another form of water, or, in other words, the waters of the earth transform into clouds. Similarly, the charity made by the kings in such sacrifices are but another form of the taxes collected from the citizens. But as the rains fall down very lavishly and appear to be more than necessary, the charity made by such kings also seems to be more than what the citizen needs. Satisfied citizens will never organize agitation against the king, and thus there was no need in changing the monarchical state. Even for a king like Maharaj Parikshit, there was need of a spiritual master for guidance. Without such guidance, one cannot make progress in spiritual life. The spiritual master must be bona fide, and one who wants to have self-realization must approach and take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master to achieve real success. Let's see, check time here. Go a little. Text 4. Nijagraha jasavira kalam digvijaye kuchit nripalinga dharam shutram garantam gomitunam pada.
I have a question.
Okay.
Taking shelter of this bona fide spiritual master. Do you think you can do that without initiation?
Not really in our line. I mean, there's always the principle that really anything's possible in Krishna consciousness, but generally, taking shelter of a spiritual master. Unless actually, in the case of like you're taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, and for some reason he doesn't think that you're sincere enough to have initiation or something, and he instructs you, that's still taking shelter. If you follow his instruction, that's So that's kind of interesting dynamic, right? You'll just say, whatever he tells you, and because they will do like that, instruct you like, okay, for now, just do like this, Okay. Translation. Once, when Maharaj Parikshit was on his way to conquer the world, he saw the master of Kali Yuga, who is lower than a Shudra, disguised as a king and herding the legs of a cow and bull. The king at once caught hold of him to deal sufficient punishment. Purport. The purpose of a king's going out to conquer the world is not for self-aggrandizement. Maharaj Parikshit went out to conquer the world after his ascendance to the throne, but this was not for the purpose of aggression on other states. He was the emperor of the world, and all small states were already under his regime. His purpose in going out was to see how things were going on in terms of the godly state. The king, being the representative of the Lord, has to execute the will of the Lord duly. There is no question of self-aggrandizement. Thus, as soon as Maharaj Parikshit saw that a lower-class man in the dress of a king was herding the legs of a cow and bull, at once he arrested and punished him. The king cannot tolerate insults to the most important animal, the cow, nor can he tolerate disrespect for the most important man, the Brahmana. Human civilization means to advance the cause of Brahminical culture and to maintain it. Cow protection is essential. There is a miracle in milk, for it contains all the necessary vitamins to sustain human physiological conditions for higher achievements. Brahminical culture can advance only when man is educated to develop the quality of goodness. And for this, there is a prime necessity of food prepared with milk, fruits, and grains. Maharaj Parikshit was astonished to see that a black Shudra dressed like a ruler was mistreating a cow, the most important animal in human society. The age of Kali means mismanagement and quarrel, and the root cause of all mismanagement and quarrel is that worthless men with the modes of lower-class men who have no higher ambition in life come to the helm of the state management. Such men at the post of a king are sure to first hurt the cow and the Brahminical culture, thereby pushing all society towards hell. Maharaj Parikshit, trained as he was, got the scent of this root cause of all quarrel in the world. Thus he wanted to stop it in the very beginning. It's amazing. I mean, isn't it just insane to think that, I don't know any statistic or whatever, but as far as just my observation has served me, it appears that cows are the most preferred animal to eat by people. It's like kind of like the go-to, it seems like, for society in general here.
Yeah, they definitely put it on the pedestal.
Yeah, it's like the staple. Isn't that insane? That's insane. Yeah, Kali Yuga full force ripping it.
They talk bad about people who don't eat red meat. Or like they act like, cause like back a few years ago they were saying like red meat's not that good for you. It's like good cholesterol or whatever. And now the norm is like red meat is like what makes you like strong and sturdy and powerful. And so now everyone's like really taking to eating red meat, specifically cow.
Yeah. Well, it matches right up with what we just heard because basically he says that this is basically the root cause of all quarrel, starting with the killing of cows. That's amazing. So, the meat eaters are quarrelsome. Yeah. And actually, in another place, he talks about how natural disasters that are happening are directly connected to the cow slaughter.
I believe that for sure.
Yeah,
Because they're
that's
also eating it. Like it's not just the slaughter, but like the eating it. Like it's just like the slaughter is terrible energy, and then consuming that energy and transmuting it. We all have our energetic fields, like, and then we're connected with the earth and all of it. So, in a scientific way, it also makes sense that we have like control or like effect over our environment.
right. Hare Krishna. At least one more here. Shanakuvacha Kashahitor Nijagraha Kalam Digvijaye Nrpa Nadeva Chinha Drakshudra Kasagamya Padahanat Tatkataya Katyatha Mahabhaga Yari Krishna Katashrayam. Shanaka Rishi inquired, why did Maharaj Parikshit simply punish him since he was the lowest of the Shudras, having dressed as a king and having struck a cow on the leg? Please describe all these incidents if they relate to the topics of Lord Krishna. Purport. Shaunaka and the Rishis were astonished to hear that the pious Maharaj Parikshit simply punished the culprit and did not kill him. This suggests that a pious king like Maharaj Parikshit should have at once killed an offender who wanted to cheat the public by dressing like a king and at the same time daring to insult the purest of the animals, the cow. The rishis in those days, however, could not even imagine that in the advanced days of the age of Kali, the lowest of the Shudras will be elected as administrators and will open organized slaughterhouses for killing cows. Anyway, although hearing about a Shudraka who was a cheat and insulter of a cow was not very interesting to the great rishis, they nevertheless wanted to hear about it to see if the event had any connection with Lord Krishna. They were simply interested in the topics of Lord Krishna, for anything that is dovetailed with the narration of Krishna is worth hearing. There are many topics in the Bhagavatam about sociology, politics, economics, cultural affairs, and so on. But all of them are in relation with Krishna, and therefore all of them are worth hearing. Krishna is the purifying ingredient in all matters, regardless of what they are. In the mundane world, everything is impure due to its being a product of the three mundane qualities. The purifying agent, however, is Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Yeah. Hari Hari.
Hari. So we'll take last call for reflections, realizations, and so on. Hare Krishna. Well, one thing we heard yesterday, Prabhupada was speaking about social culture and modern culture, and we were kind of marveling at the depth of the culture that Prabhupada talks about and how far removed we actually are nowadays. And today's reading also, it's a bit of a theme of People in general, and especially here in America, are just so entrenched in the non-devotional atmosphere, um, that it's just amazing, Especially, when you go on practicing for some time, and we might situate ourselves in the devotional mood and practice it as much as possible. Then it becomes more and more like clear, how far of a different wavelength people are on. It's really amazing. So
What becomes clear about it? Like,
you just see it,
yeah,
and you can see,
like the modes.
yeah, the modes, but where people's minds are, the things they're talking about, things they're doing,
Right.
things in just general stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then like observing that in day-to-day life, but then hearing Prabhupada in this way is like, oh, like it's so clear when we're here for Prabhupada, and it automatically brings you to this platform of like clarity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we go back in the world and we mix and mingle, and before you know it, we can get taken away so easily. Hare Krishna. Oh.
Pranatakaruna, just on that same thing, when you read about the many topics, sociology, politics, economics, cultural affairs, and that they're all mentioned in the Bhagavatam, I appreciated hearing that because when you listen to them in respect to current events, they can be depressing and remind you of Maya in the material world. But when you hear these topics in the Bhagavatam, I'm amazed at how when Srila Prabhupada talks about them, they're timeless.
Yeah, they're
Like
ecstatic.
ecstatic, yes.
Yeah.
And that it says that they're worth hearing. And so just kind of saying, or, piggybacking on what you said, if you watch the news or whatever, it's so rough to hear and things. But if you hear it in the context of this, then that gives you some hope and light, and that it really is this crazy machine that we're in.
That's a good point. Yeah. This is kind of like the news of the spiritual world. It probably gives this nice example of like a radio, like AM FM radio. You can like, or not AM FM, whatever, a long distance radio, whatever, maybe satellite radio or whatever it is. And then you like pick up a news station from Germany, and you can listen to it and really get an idea of what's going on in Germany by hearing the broadcast. And he said these books, this is the same thing, like these books for the spiritual world. Like, you can get into the and actually understand what's going on. So anyway, yeah, it's a nice point. Actually, so many people make this comment about the news stressing them out. This is like the good news right here. And actually, in the second verse of Bhagavatam, it says that this Bhagavatam is the reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. So this is actually meant to help people. The news is definitely not meant to really help anybody for anything. And I'll just share one more thing. And then in the leadership conference recently, or no, the course thing I did, Anuttama Prabhu was sharing that, like where he lives, he'll hear like the weather updates, but they always have to put something in front of the weather, like, oh, it's a windy 65, or it's a hot 77, and like just like make it like negative.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anyway, Hare Krishna. I think, were you going to share something else? Could you?
Well, no, I was just going to say, just Krishna is the purifying ingredient of all matters, regardless of what they are. In the mundane world, everything is impure due to its being a product of the three mundane qualities. The purifying agent, however, is Krishna. I just think that's so nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Krishna is the element, the ingredient that makes things transcendental. Yeah, it's a good purifying agent. Hare Krishna. Yeah, and all the more reason to hear and chant as much as possible, even more. You know, giving so much of a taste for hearing and chanting.
Tuning in.
Yeah. All right, Krishna. Ecology, you want to have anything you want to share?
Yeah, thank you for
Hey.
all there. Hari, Hari. Thank you for all offerings and things stated there. Yes, it's like all we can do is simply remember and be present and all these other things so much. Why not surrender ourselves and be present with Krishna? So I'm so grateful just in general to hear, those points were pertinent on the topics of stated in Bhagavatam, but current events, those types of things. We see and we live. We're all human beings here, as well as Jiva souls, Natma, Paramatma. But grateful for the association. So thank you.
Thank
Hari,
you.
Hari.
Hari.
I have one point though. Maybe thinking like the mood again about the foodstuffs. It really matters a lot, and it is like a nature of this degraded age for people to just chase the taste of the tongue of whatever, and to be so thoughtless. And it's not really that we need to look down on anyone else, but it's just that's the way it is here, and people chase salty food and whatever, meat foods and whatever. It's just not good. It
Yeah,
does not help,
Prabhuji.
it does not help the soul. It does not help all the consciousness or anyone around. So I
Yeah,
pray for that and being better. But good points. Thank
thank you,
you.
Prabhuji. Yeah, um, they have no concept. I mean, at least in the materially, I mean, there is some concept of like health in general, like bodily health, mental health, and there is some concept of like, eating one way is not favorable for health, eating a different way is more favorable for health. That is there. But generally, yeah, people are basically trained to satisfy the demands of the tongue because actually we're purposely trained up in that way. I mean, think about it. Like, think about how many generations have been kids stuck in front of the TV to watch advertisements for bubblegum and kid cuisines. I remember when I was a kid, my dad used to put me in front of the TV, and there was like this commercial for the kid cuisines with like the penguin. Somehow I just remember that, but it's like we're getting programmed, to the tongue gets stimulated by some thing, and you go buy it, and somebody makes them a lot of money, and they sell you the cheap, weird poison crap that they wrapped in plastic, for you to get your money. Anyway, um, but yeah, that's amazing to observe actually, because I was thinking of this point recently, like observing it in others. Someone was like saying, "You're a vegetarian." He's like, "Oh no, I love chicken," and it was just like, we're like talking about God consciousness, like these really the goal of human life, and it's just like throw all that out the window. It's like I like chicken, like they're trained. I mean, we are trained to just satisfy the immediate demands of the senses, you know.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
The lecture today, the Bhagavatam lecture, was a Prabhupada lecture. We're just listening to the audio. And like a major point in his lecture today was we're not enjoying ever. We're just only serving. We're either serving the senses or serving God. I thought that was a really, really interesting point.
Mm. Yeah, because we either can serve voluntarily or involuntarily. And involuntarily means under the material energy, aka serving the senses. Yeah, including the sixth sense, which is the mind, materialistic mind. Yeah, nice points.
Jay, I had one other thing I'd like to state with the mood of even if we do need certain types of milk stuff, or if some people are not vegan, maybe offering yogurt, milk, something like that. If we really can, put the heart into it and then honor it and offer it to Krishna. I think this is important because in this day and age, there's, unless we're straight up in New Vrindavan or someplace getting milk directly from cow, it's never going to be like that. So at least if we do need this sustenance for the body, because the proteins can be very beneficial for certain people. And, I myself, I do like to feel strong and take some protein from those yogurts and milk. Just putting the heart in and just honoring that offering is going to uphold the whole thing. So ahimsa is very important, but at the same time, just putting the heart in the offerings.
Yeah, not only that, Prabhuji, but the cows in which whose milk gets used gets actually the spiritual benefit. This was an argument that was presented to me uh, by my spiritual master. Um, for the veganism, like in devotee circles, because basically vegan devotees, they have like arguments of why they choose to be vegan, which actually nobody cares if you're vegan. Like, it's not like you have to defend it or something. Like, if you want to be vegan or you need to be vegan, like, more power to you. Like, I'm talking from like a philosophical, like a devotee standpoint, and but sometimes like some of them were kind of coming up with this philosophy, kind of like criticizing temples that are using milk, especially if it's not ahimsa or the pure
Oh yeah, especially.
milk. So actually, it's due to lack of faith of the pure. The temple should get pure milk. They should have ahimsa milk.
Yeah, they shouldn't be.
But if for some reason it's not, if they can't or whatever the reason is, according to their resources, um, actually offering foodstuffs to Krishna purifies them, and actually it saves the cows whose milk is used.
Yeah.
Jay.
I was thinking about going to the grocery store and like with like little deities or something like this, or just like doing like a puja or like a just an offering like in like the store, like in the milk section, just like offering all the milk to Krishna.
Yeah.
Without buying it.
You do it every time you go in the store.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can do it with everything, even bread.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Jay.
so there is a place there is a place for it. Of course, we want to offer Krishna the best and as far as possible, but in some we don't know what some circumstances are for devotees. And Krishna does love his, sandesh and burfi and yogurt and ghee.
Yeah. Ultimately, Krishna loves love. I'll say that. As
Yeah.
as the vegan in the room that would have anything to say about it. Like, We don't have to offer Krishna in order to like get his love or acceptance or love or pleasure. He specifically says, "Offer me a leaf, flower, water, uh, with love and devotion, and I'll accept it." So you can offer those things also.
Well, you gotta offer him ghee lamps. Yeah, at least. And the standard, the standards are, milk sweets in the morning, ghee lamp. Yeah, but it's true. You don't have, in general. Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about like the institution.
Yeah.
They're like trying to maintain certain standards for the deities.
Right.
Is it going to be the end of the world if some temple somewhere only offers a himsa milk, and if they don't, they, something. Man, maybe not.
Yeah.
But there is a reason for the standards and all that stuff. So anyway, I think it's just the point is, to just it's better not to be in like a critical mentality towards others, because there's also so many philosophical justifications for superficially contradictory points.
Yeah.
That there's room for devotees to have different moods and apply it differently, and it's not that this one's right and this one's wrong.
Yeah, and like there's terrible practices going on for like all of the things that we offer for Krishna, like the clothing, like the way like fabric is processed, the way vegetables are processed, like they're all terrible. Also, like in their own sense, the same way that like the cattle industry or like the milk industry is also like really screwed up these days.
Yeah, pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Even the air, the water. We try to do our best, but if you can get too much into it to where it's like, well, you can't offer anything to Krishna.
Yeah, none of it's good enough.
Yeah, I can't leave my bed.
Hare Krishna. If everything offered with love, that's key.
Right.
Krishna is there, accepting. Again, thank you for association. I appreciate you all. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay.
All right, well, I guess this is going to conclude the reading tonight. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha anantakoti vaishnavrinda ki jai. So, thank you so much for tuning in and sharing. Kunja and Kala. Krishna willing, we'll be here tomorrow, same time. Krishna. Our bowl. See you later.